So this podcast episode is a little bit different this week. A few weeks ago, Tara Grimes from Tara Grimes Fitness invited me onto her Facebook page to have a chat with her business community all about social media and the basic principles for embracing all the platforms. It was such a lovely conversation, and Tara is a great advocate for sharing knowledge and trying to help other business owners. So when I listened to it back, I definitely thought that the Digg Podcast listeners could get great value and some great tips and insights from the episode that I recorded with Tara. So I reached out to her and asked her, would she mind if I shared the interview with you guys? And she absolutely said yes, like I knew she would. So I hope you enjoy it. There's a lot of basic principles that some you may already know, some you just might want a little reminder of, and it can really motivate you when you hear things again that you already knew, but you might not just be putting it into practice just yet. So I hope you enjoy it, and thanks again to Tara for allowing me to share it with you all.
I want to welcome my guest tonight, Caroline. I don't need to introduce Caroline. You know, Caroline was so well known across social media, has done incredibly well, is probably incredibly well known for her gorgeous, cute children and the unbelievable viral videos. Caroline, that was something else. And it's funny, it's one of the questions I have in here tonight is around that as well. But the whole idea around having this tonight, it's something brand new. It's something that I haven't done before. It's more business orientated and out of the realm of fitness and nutrition. But I get so many messages, particularly since lockdown, about how I took my business online. And it's funny because they're so different. There's sort of two different types of social media platform in terms of there's Instagram, there's Facebook, and you have to gear your content, you know, towards what you are, either an influencer or a business. And it's hard for me to explain. And Caroline, you're the main woman. There's nothing you don't know regarding social media content, how to grow your business, and the fact that you've had your own business as well makes it all the more authentic and real. And you know, you have a legitimate following. You have grown your social media platforms. You had your retail business, which you took online as well. So you're the perfect person for this. So I want you to start off first. We had a few questions lined up. So for everybody on here who's either in the service business, whether it's a personal trainer, a fitness instructor, you know, a beautician, a hairdresser, a nail technician, how important is social media to growing your business online, from pivoting from having a bricks and mortar business to an online platform?
Well, thank you so much for having me on, and what a flippant introduction. I hope I live up to it after that. And do you know what? I certainly don't know it all, but I have learned a lot over the years from, as you said, having my shop and trying to launch online and things. And yeah, everyone that is tuned in tonight will be tuned in because they know it's important, because they know they need the social media. And for me, I believe that it's needed. It's so important. Like I strongly believe that every business needs to be on social media, need to have a presence, and need to be showing up consistently in order to reach their target audience and reach a new audience that, you know, they wouldn't be able to reach if they just had their phones away or their laptops away. I just spoke to a family member actually this morning who isn't convinced they need social media. Well, they weren't convinced, and I got the call this morning, here, give us a hand, will you? Because, you know, we're needing to get a bit of business here. And I was like, oh, really? So you're what? And now they see that they, you know, everyone is on social media. I just listened to a podcast recently where it's like 80% of over 65-year-olds have now embraced all the platforms. Like, that is significant data. And it just shows you that you can't think that your audience isn't there. They're there. And if you aren't there, your competitor will be, and they'll get the business and you won't. That's just as simple as it is.
And you even find, Caroline, you know, you don't necessarily, anybody who has a social media or an online business, it doesn't matter how good they are, you know, you're better having any social presence than none at all. And, you know, I hear people saying, I would be so afraid, you know, to do it. I would be so scared to come on and do stories and do a video because I would look ridiculous. And my answer is, you're always better looking ridiculous than not being on it at all. You know, get your face on,
Yes, and you know, I know that like you and I are talkers, and we're, you know, I know you say you don't find it easy, but when you're able to come on here tonight and not die inside and not cringe, but I've met a lot of people who this type of thing eats them up with fear, and I am very sympathetic to that. I know that some people will never be able to do that, and you know, if it's really, really uncomfortable and it's giving you anxiety, that's why there's influencer marketing has just boomed, and you know, you can actually embrace that side of things for your business, bring people in that can actually be the voice for you. So I always say to people, don't think you have to be the blogger with the, you know, the camera up. If you're good at that and that's inside you, I absolutely say you embrace it, you go for it, because that's when the magic happens. But if you actually want to feel sick at the thought of it and you know you're never going to be able to, then I would say embrace influencer marketing, start looking at bringing people like that in to get your message out. But in the first instance, if it's in there at all, even a little tiny bit, you need to explore it and bring it out, because that's whenever things start to change.
Yeah, and I said to you earlier in my stories today that everyone, I know so many super creative, super skilled people, and there's so much potential and they're so good, and if they could just push it out there a wee bit more. And I find as well that, you know, I get very when I'm on video, but when I'm talking about my business, you know, you become very passionate because it's something you know very well and it's very easy to talk about. So sticking to your business is really easy because you know it inside out, outside in and back to front. And, you know, if you have your own business, you're clearly passionate about your skill or your product or your service. So, you know, I find it's easier to talk about something you know very, very well.
Yes, and you know, your audience, I always say to people, your audience has decided to follow you because they're either interested in your business, they like you, they're inspired by you. So they're there, they're already a warm audience. And if you are educating them about what you do, you know, that they'll stay. And if they don't stay, then they were never your customer or your audience anyway. So if you can continue to, like you say, let your passion lead you in your content, then it will absolutely happen and it will absolutely grow. But don't, you know, I recently worked with a business, and the lady was saying to me, like, I just don't know what to be saying every day. Like, I just don't know. And I said, tell me about what do you do? What, you know, how did you do that? Why do you do that? What will your customer learn, or what will they gain from doing what you're doing? And she's like, oh, I thought I had to like do something creative. You know, she thought she had to be someone else. You don't. People are invested in you and they started to follow you because of your business. So just go with that and let that guide your content, is what I say.
Yeah. And in terms of, you know, on your top 5, Caroline, for the complete novice watching this, who's sitting watching, even, you know, I find a lot of my own clients who are older, they would say, oh, try and pass that, Tara. You know, I wouldn't have a clue about technology, and there's no bigger technophobe than myself, and I'm still a one-finger typer on my phone. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. But, you know, top 5 priorities for the complete novice out there who's sitting there and they're just dipping their toe over that line of fear and they're stepping back and they're, you know, and they're just afraid. What's your top 5? What's your priority for the complete novice? Where do they go? What's their top 5 priorities when it comes to putting themselves on a social media platform and growing their business online?
Well, that's a pretty big statement, but basically, you know, find out where your audience is first. I firmly believe our audiences are everywhere. People are on all the platforms these days. You know, at the start, it was just on Facebook, and then the younger generation moved to Instagram. But now my mum is on Instagram every single day. So I definitely believe your audience are on all the platforms. But I guess, you know, finding out where the majority is, if you want to embrace one first and you don't feel like you need to be creating loads of content for them all, maybe focus on one and see where your strengths lie in that one. So I know these are basics, like really basics, but get your logo, all like brand identity across all the platforms. So if you're Tara Grimes Fitness with that logo on Facebook, that's what matches Instagram, that's what matches your YouTube or your LinkedIn or your Twitter, that there's a brand identity across them all. So have a nice your logo clear so your audience recognizes you no matter what platform they're using. Your bio. So
sorry, just to take you back there, what would you say would be the most important platform to focus on? Again, every service and every industry and every product's different, and each platform could be very much connected to your service or your you know, what you do. You know, is it so? Is Facebook and Instagram, are they still the two big ones, or should we be looking at other platforms?
No, Facebook and Instagram are where it's at, in my opinion, for our types of businesses or services. Like LinkedIn, very popular in the professional kind of, world. Twitter, my husband's obsessed for politics and sport, and I tried to embrace Twitter and just can't get around. Don't feel like my audience there are engaging with me on it. Facebook and Instagram, definitely for like the fitness, the retail, the hair, the beauty. That's where it's at. And Facebook, people have talked about the decline of Facebook, but it's still the leading social media platform. So I believe I have my Instagram set up where when I create content on Instagram, that it feeds over directly to Facebook. Now, digital marketers would say, Tara, that you should be creating different content for those platforms, but I am being realistic. Do you have time for that? No. Do I have time for that? No. I when I had my shop, I would rather it was up there than not at all. And I actually find that the audiences engage differently on those two platforms, and I still got high engagement on both, and different people were on it at different times and it was getting seen. So I never took, and it's probably digital marketers are cringing when they listen to this, but I as a business owner believe it's better up than not at all. So I would rather put it up on Instagram and let it feed to Facebook and let have a chance that people are going to see it on both, than to think, I just didn't get around to creating that extra bit of content for Facebook today. No, get it up on Instagram, get it fed over to Facebook and get a reaction.
Yeah. Done beats perfect.
Yeah, and then so your logo, then your bio. So this is really important. Your bio on Instagram are those few lines beneath your logo that basically are a buy-in for people. So if I land on your bio on Instagram, I want that to be your sales pitch to me, why I should start following you. And often I go on and people have like things in there that are irrelevant, like a website that isn't even clickable. Your links are in your edit profile where you can put your website in. You don't write your website into your bio. You write your bio with those killer statements that make me want to follow you, that make me think you're going to teach me something, learn me something, learn me something, inspire me, whatever. That is your sales pitch. So you write your bio like that, and then let that match your about me on Facebook, so that there's a brand identity across them all again. So that's really important. Then obviously your content is important, but this is where people start to really freak out. They're like, I don't know what to post. Oh my God, I'm not interesting. Yes, you are. Your business is your passion. So you show your passion in your content. If it's a nail business, you know what your customer wants. Do they want to know about the new polish? Why is it the best? Why does it not peel off? Why do people use it? Does it strengthen your nails? I want you to educate me about your business. And I think people are afraid of social because they see maybe influencers and bloggers doing all these creatives and, being very vocal and very social. And yes, that's needed in some respect as well in business, but that will come. But you're saying to me, people who are just the novice that are just starting out, you need to be realistic. They're not going to be on there creating reels on Instagram and doing all the lives. So start small, start feeding your content out, start engaging with your audience, build your confidence so that you start to see some rewards of people messaging you back, booking, buying things, and then it will grow, but you have to start somewhere. And always reply. So that's your logo, your bio, your content. Content is huge. Like we could talk about that all day. And then obviously your DMs and your messenger is very important. If people are coming in there and asking, you don't ignore them. You give them everything they need and more from you, even if it doesn't generate a sale or anything at that time. You look after them because they're your potential people. And I can't think of a fifth one right now, but I'm sure we'll come to it as we're going through. But that's definitely the top things.
I know, Caroline, there's a huge differentiation between an influencer. So for me, I'm not an influencer, okay, because I have a business and my income depends on the content and what service I can offer you. Influencers, are probably making somebody else money, but if you have somebody who's running a business and trying to scale their business online and you're looking for buyers, you're not looking for followers, you're looking for buyers. So a lot of the time I would find that, I remember at the start with my social media, when I was putting it up, you'd be thinking, oh my God, I put things up and I think, where's all the likes? Where's all the engagement? It's not happening, and then you realize, hold on a minute, you're not an influencer, Tara. You're trying to educate, you're trying to sell. And I think people get really downhearted by that. They think likes equals, success, and engagement equals success. And I know for me, like my most successful posts are the transformations of my unbelievable clients. But I get very little engagement on likes in those posts because a lot of women don't like to see, they don't like to like certain posts because they think other people might think I'm interested and I want to lose weight and I want to get fit. So they don't, but they're my biggest driver of my business. But I get the least engagement in that. And a lot of people think that they almost become influencers and they forget, hold on a minute here, what's that got to do with your business and how you can help people? So, you see people falling down that trap of trying to become influencers and they forget about the business that they're trying to promote, and the service that they can give people. What's your advice on that between, am I an influencer or am I a business owner trying to grow my business? Because they're very, very different, I feel.
They're very, very different, but they can actually morph into each other without you realizing. And it's kind of what happened to me in Digg Children's Wear, where I became so vocal in my business and so social in my business with any social things that were going on in the community and all, that I actually turned into an influencer without realizing. But I firmly stuck to being an influencer over my own business. And you said you're not an influencer, but you actually are, because you come on and you influence your audience to subscribe or to swipe up and buy the recipe book or to log on to your latest fitness thing. So it's actually magic and it's gold when you can become the influencer within your business. So that's different than a person having a platform where they're an influencer and they represent loads of businesses. And that's, an influencer in inverted commas. But actual magic happens when people look to you within your business and are influenced by you. And that's what's happening with you. And that's definitely what happened with Digg Children's Wear. And that's why I didn't really depend as much on influencers coming in, because my voice grew and people listened to me without that. But yes, there's a difference, but I would say to the people, like you said, your transformation posts get you the most inquiries and people reaching out. But if I looked at your maybe platform, I'd be like, God, not one person there cares about your post, Tara. But actually, who cares what I think looking at that? Yeah. You're the one got 10 new people onto your program because you put that post up. So I always say to people, forget about the vanity and what it looks like, because actually it means nothing. Money in the bank means something.
And the followers as well. People think, well, I only have 2,000 followers. And I'd always say, it doesn't matter how many followers you have. If you're a business owner, how do you engage with those followers?
2,000 followers is a lot.
Listen to them. Tell them, what are they asking you for? What are their pains? What are the touch points that they're looking help with? Glean that information and help them with content and help them with information. But I also find as well, a lot of people, where's the line, Caroline, when you're doing stories on Facebook and Instagram? Where's the line between overshare and undershare? Where's that fine line? Where's that balance of overshare and undershare between your business and your private life and everything in between?
I think we all know the fine line in our own minds, and when we watch other people, and like social media is only as invasive as you allow it to be. So as a business owner, I believe, yes, we all know that when we show snippets of our home lives or snippets of things, that it definitely keeps our audience more engaged, and it means you're not always trying to sell to them. However, they're definitely like, we've all seen people and we're like, that's quite unprofessional, the way they're, either out drunk or doing whatever and it's on their business platform. I never agreed with that. Yes, we like to show real life, but you always have to keep in the back of your head, why am I doing this? I am doing this to get more sales, to get more customers. And are they really going to want to embrace me if I'd been out doing God knows what or saying God knows what? So your air of professionalism that you would have if a customer comes into your shop or someone comes into your gym, you still keep that whenever you're on your business platform, and that will always keep you right about where the line is and when you cross over. And if you think I shouldn't show this, just don't show it.
Yeah, it's funny because I always find that balance, that my life's not that interesting. I would think, I used to always say to you, Caroline, I wish I had a life interesting to put in stories. Oh my God almighty.
People love making a cup of coffee. That's how interesting it can be. Like I say, like people get caught up in this, and I said, look, it doesn't have to be all singing, all dancing content. Like, how lovely is it? And isn't this such a weird thing that you love seeing somebody making their coffee in their nice coffee cup and taking it? Like, simple things like starting your day like that on social can be a real feel good factor for your audience watching. And it, like, that's not invasive. That's not like, you know, but it's still a night. Like, I love to see the coffee and the going on, and I'm like, I must get myself a coffee, right? But simple things like that can be enough to, you know, step away from the selling and be a little more engaging in that respect. So, you know, if there's business owners listening and, you know, they don't want to show their home life or their kids, which is totally unacceptable. Some people don't. There are ways of still being social without being like letting people into your home life as such.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people are very private and they don't want to show their home and they don't want to show their cars or their houses or their kids or anything like that. And, you know, there are still ways you can engage with your audience and give really interesting content about how you can help them. And I find the more you help people online, the more information and content you give them. You know, it's all reciprocated, and that engagement is fantastic. And, you know, it never goes unnoticed, you know, and as you say, Caroline, they eventually do become your clients. And
so I always say to people, if you're thinking about whether I should put up a post or a story, if it doesn't educate, entertain, or inspire, don't put it up. So you know, if it's not hitting either of those three things, it's not even worth your while. Don't even bother. So, you know, if that's the way I would tell people to look at it, if they're trying to plan their content, am I going to educate my customers about the perfect fitness regime in the mornings when you're just up or whatever it may be? You know, always think like that: educate, entertain, or inspire. One of the three, or else don't put it up.
Yeah, very good. The other question I had for you here, Caroline, was haters. A lot of people are really scared of going on social media and getting haters, and like your following is massive. And it's funny, I seen something on at the weekend. I rarely get to look at social media because I'm not busy doing my own social media. I rarely get to look at anybody else's, but I happened to come on your story over the weekend and I seen somebody put something up, and I thought to myself, you know, Caroline, you must get some amount of that, you know, because you're following so big and your engagement, and, you know, number one, how do you deal with that personally? And number two, you know, what advice would you give to anybody out there who's so afraid of being judged? Because you're putting yourself out there and you have to expect that, you know, it comes with the territory.
Yeah, I expect it, and thank God I actually don't get too much of it. Like, I had no problem with somebody maybe challenging what I said if they don't agree, or, you know, saying like, you know, like I don't know if you've seen, but I killed a mouse today in my house, and, you know, a few people that obviously don't like you killing mice have sent me a message, and I've no problem. I don't call that hating or trolling. I just call that that's just, you're going to get that, and I expect that, but I just didn't want that mouse in my house, and that mouse got killed. I'm sorry, but whenever someone says something about your appearance or your family or, you know, stuff like that hurts you, you know, but you have to get a thick skin too, because there'd always be judgment. People always talk. People talk. That's life. It's natural. It's human. They do it. But unfortunately, with social media, you're very easily targeted because they can just send it straight to you. But, you know, it's great now. You can just block someone, get them out of your platforms where they actually can't see your content anymore. And, you know, there is whole websites dedicated to this stuff where people actually slip people apart.
I only heard that a couple of weeks ago. I was told about these haters and these websites, and I just could not believe. I could believe my ears when I had heard this.
I know, it's so bad, and, you know, it's so hurtful. And, you know, we're all, you know, women, men with feelings, mummies, daughters and all, and it does hurt, but thank God I don't get too much of it. How do you deal, like your second part was for people who are afraid? You know what, sure, you know, before social media, people always talked, and you would have heard the rumors, and she said this about her and all. It's just in a different medium now, so we have to just get our heads around that. And if you want to push your business on and you want to go to the next level with it, you have to accept that people aren't always going to like you, and they're not always going to agree with you. But I do find that if people don't like you and don't agree with you, they'll unfollow you, and that's perfect. Fine, perfect. That's fine. They're gone. They weren't your customer. And like, people say to me, oh my God, I feel so bad. I just lost like 30 followers last week. Why would that be? I'm like, happy days. There are they, and not judging you. They're not for you. They didn't want to see your content, and then they're not worth really having as a follower. And that's not bad of them. They've decided you weren't right for them and they've left. So actually don't worry about any of that. As I said, and you said at the start, if you're getting the inquiries, you're getting sales and the money's coming into the bank, it's all that matters.
It's the other thing I wanted to ask you as well, and I wanted to inform anybody out there, is what is the best type of content for reach and engagement? And reach is, the news feeds that it appears on. So how many times it's been served up on a news feed, and on your Instagram grid, what gets the biggest audience? Is it certain type of content? Is it video? Is it reels? And I know that's reels scares the life out of people.
Me too.
And is there a certain type of content, Caroline, that has greater appeal? And you just seem to naturally, because you're very much yourself. I find the more you're yourself, and the more I'm myself, and I go on the rants on Facebook and Instagram, when I'm out for my walks, they get the most views. But because I think it's more authentic. But for somebody starting up who really doesn't know, should I put a post up? Should I put a photograph of myself up? Should I put a video up? What is the best advice? What's the best reach when it comes to socials?
So treat your grid on Instagram or your posts, like your static posts on Facebook and things, as your brand identity. I always say so if someone lands on your grid, that they get a true feel of what you do and who you are based on those pictures and those captions. So like I would look at a lot of people's grids, and I was guilty of this too in the past, and it's very messy and cluttered with like a lot of writing over it, and tried it. Instagram especially is a very beautiful place to hang out. Like people like aesthetically pleasing pictures, and that doesn't have to like freak people out. I mean, like if you're going to take a picture of your salon, make sure it looks nice and there's nothing clutter or anything. And if you're going to take a picture of those nail polish bottles, make you sure every single one of them shine. And I don't know why I keep talking about nails, but you said nail technicians and hair at the start. But if it's in the gym, make sure you have your branded gear sitting somewhere in the gym picture, and make sure that there's a theme throughout. Like I would see sometimes people grids and they've got pictures from Snapchat with writing all over them on their grid and all. No, you need to be more professional and have your grid as your brand identity. So if someone lands, they're like, wow, she does, she's into fitness and food, or she's into her kids and her family, or, definitely that. And if you can pick 3-4 things that you always post about, like if Tara, if yours is fitness and food and healthy and exercise equipment and fitness gear, I'm just saying that off the top of the head. If those are your 4 things, try to get your content kind of flowing like that, where like one picture might be about the food and the next is about the fitness and the next is about the gym gear, and you could start to see a pattern building up on your page. Like I find, and then engagement wise, look, if you are thinking about your content, there's no set rules for engagement. Like who's to say if something's going to go well? You could put up a post and think it's going to be deadly and it gets very little engagement, and then you could put up, just fire one up flippantly, and the next thing it just goes mental. So there is no hard and fast rules. I would just say always stay true to yourself and your brand and your business, and the engagement will come. Like I find whenever I stage my photos too much, it's because of my audience. They don't like that.
The grid, that's one thing, Caroline, I find that people, that's the difference between the 2 social media platforms, Instagram and Facebook. I always say one's for the pretty people where everything looks perfect. And then, Facebook, I think, it's, as you say, it does probably require different content and it gets different engagement, but it's so hard to get to create content for both platforms when you're trying to do your job as well.
I find that even though Instagram is like the beautiful place to hang out, when I try to be too beautiful with my pictures, no one likes them. But when I slap a photo up of me and the kids out and covered in muck, it goes mental. So I think you have to find out what your customer likes, but still make your grid very brand orientated, and make sure that it's strong. When someone lands there, they know you're Tara Grimes and you're into fitness, or I'm Caroline O'Neill and I love my family. Like, so that's what you need to land on it and know straight away. Facebook's different, whereas you can't land and see like an overall synopsis of your brand the minute you land on it. But as for getting that reach and engagement, that just comes with starting to learn what your audience reacts to. So if I do a photo shoot, and this is an example, and it has happened with me. So I've done a photo shoot and the kids have been there, and it was for the launch of Digg Mama, and all the businesses were there, and the photos were amazing. and they really represented what I do, and I put them up, and it's like, don't give me that. I don't want anyone to see that.
People react more to more organic, authentic, even videos as well. I find, the more staged they're, more professional they are. It's even some posts you put out, some posts I put out, and it's like you're thinking, oh my God, this is amazing. It took you so long to create it, or a real blog post that took you ages to write it. You put it out and it's like crickets, there's nothing.
Then we have to go back to what we said at the start, that doesn't matter, because you've written that for the person that lands on your page to find out about you, about your audience. Your brand is there, and that's why you're doing it. And then you think, I'm going to go and stories and go on a good walk and go on a good rant and get everybody coming on to things. So that's how you use the two different elements of the platform differently. Use your stories to really get that engagement, those question boxes, those polls. Use all those tools, those stickers and Instagram stories to get your audience, because that's all stats. That builds up your stats for your and it really can make the algorithm see your platform as performing really well and start feeding it to more people.
Didn't even know.
Yeah, so if you've got a really high engagement in your stories, and there's a lot of people engaging and sending you messages, and you're answering the question boxes and they're doing the polls, your little bubble on Instagram starts to get fed to more people because it's getting more engagement. So don't worry so much. Yes, it's nice to get the likes and all on the grid, but I would say if your grid is looking beautiful and not beautiful, if your grid is looking like you want your business to look, then that's good. That's what you should think about for your grid. Your stories is more about keeping your audience engaged with you. So a picture of the beautiful manicure area for the Instagram grid gets 30, 40 likes. But if I land on your page, I know you have a beautiful manicure area. But in the stories, your DMs are going mental because you've just launched a new color, and there's a price off at the offer on it this weekend, and put a question box up, what's your favorite color, and everybody's writing in. So your DMs and your stories could be going mental, but your grid is just your brand. That's the way I look at it. Your brand is on your grid.
And Caroline, see within Instagram grid and stories, is there a parameters, or is there like statistics in terms of if you have so many followers on your Instagram, how many viewers you should have, or what's good, what's bad, what's good, and what's horrific? Is there like a sweet spot?
So like they did used to say that on Instagram stories, if you had 10% of your following eyeballing you, if you know what I mean. So if you have 20,000 followers and 2,000 people were on watching you, they said that was really good. But I do find that's higher. Most people who would have 20,000 would have a lot more people watching them on the stories. But if you can keep that as a wee guide, that's what I learned at a course I was on, that they said 10% of your following watching your stories is a good, that means you're on the right tracks. But I often find if you have 10%, it definitely grows a lot quicker then after that, because things just, people start to, your engagement starts to grow and people are watching more. So if that can give you a wee guide for it.
Okay. And then I suppose finally, Caroline, to wrap it up, anybody sitting watching this thinking, yeah, okay, right, I need to go social, I need to be more present and out there. Is social media the be all and end all to growing an online business? What other variables do you see that supports your online business? Because clearly if you have a website and you're selling, your socials drive that audience to your website. So what are the other key things for you that will help people take their service business from on-site to online and get some sort of, my idea to help people was, okay, so I'm not in the salon, or I want to spend less time in the salon, or I want to spend less time on the gym floor, or I want to spend less time in the shop. What, how can I drive an income or some sort of residual income that I don't have to be there as often if somebody wants to go part-time or take time out? How do you get that secondary income? So from your socials, what else do you need to do?
So you definitely can't just rely on social media. That is the downfall, I think, of a lot of people. They put all their eggs in one basket. Like if you have a website, you need to be thinking about your email list. You need to be building that email list, getting subscribers as soon as they land, having the pop-up in place that makes them come on. Then it's all right having an email list, but you need to be creating newsletters. You need to be sending those newsletters out regularly. You and I have talked before about blog posts, and like people would say, oh my God, I'm not a blogger. This isn't about being a blogger. This is about writing content for Google, where when people are searching for body transformations, weight loss in County Tyrone, all the keywords that people would be searching for your business, colour treated hair shampoo, spray for the greys, all those keywords, you need to be writing blogs including those keywords, so that you can be organically found on organically found on Google. So that's very important. Your SEO is so important. So if you're putting up a picture of a bottle of shampoo, that there's a lot more to it when you put that on your website. That needs to be listed properly as an image so that Google will find that on Google Images. It needs to have the proper SEO done. Like, this is mind-boggling for people who maybe don't know about this, but I mean, you need to learn about it if you're serious about getting traffic to your website, not just from social. So if you were off social for a week because you were sick, or Facebook shut down, where are you going to get your sales? You need to make sure that you have all those things in place, and that your SEO is driving you've done your SEO so that traffic is going to your website even when you sleep and when you're not on social. So those things take learning. You need to go to webinars. You need to go to webinars. That's like, you need to join webinars. I was going to say go to training, but we don't go to training anymore because of COVID. But online, there's so many, even free training all about these things. And I think it's important that people don't put all their eggs in one basket, because if Facebook closed down or locked you out of your account, or done any of that, how are you going to get those sales on your website? And it's through all of those things we've just talked about, and loads more too, but those are the basics, I would say.
Yeah, and it's always about having a plan, as you said. If you're locked out of your social media accounts, what's your plan B? What's your plan C? What's your plan D? How do you make them sales when you don't have that medium? And I know for some people, when you start talking about SEO, they're like, oh my God, this is and I remember when I started as well, I was like, oh my God. So it's like, you need a website, you need, when you're writing blog posts, you're going through, you're trying to rank on Google, and you'll know then by your analytics, how much traffic you're getting from your socials. And, when you do, and it's something, Caroline, it sounds like a foreign language. To me, it did anyway when I started. But if you're passionate about your business, and passionate about, helping as many people as possible, you'll learn this stuff.
Yes, and just to
learn so many free things online. That's pretty much
so many. And it may sound mind-boggling, but it's actually there's a few pretty straightforward things you can do to make sure you're ranking. Like, just to give away example, Tommy Hilfiger, I stocked in Digg Children's Wear. I was never going to come the top of Google for Tommy Hilfiger, because all the big guys, Tommy Hilfiger himself was number one, then Children's Salon and all the big shops all had paid for Google AdWords to be at the top there. But I labeled every single Tommy Hilfiger image properly, the exact way, with the dash in between, when you save as and then you upload it to your website. And if you search Tommy Hilfiger navy boys body warmer, I was number one on Google Images, and that drove so much traffic to my site. And that every time the body warmer was a staple piece that was always repeated season after season. And every time it came in, it sold out, all from the organic traffic from Google Images. And I always use that as an example to people, like something simple like labeling your shop.
It doesn't cost.
It doesn't cost nothing. Once you learn how to do it once, you'll never not label that image again properly. So I say to people, learn as much as you can about your online and don't expect the sales to come if you're not doing all these things.
No, it isn't. It's not one dimensional. There's so many variables that go into it. Even now when writing blog posts, I go in and now I have somebody to do it for me now. I used to do it myself at the start. I had no clue what I was doing. It was like a foreign language going onto a WordPress site, the back end of a WordPress site. I used to sweat buckets thinking about it, but it's like everything else. You'll learn it and you'll get used to it. And it's and people are probably thinking, well, how do you have all the time to do this when you're running a business? But as you get up and going, I think what you can do is you can start to outsource. And this is things that the other thing I want to talk about. If you do not have the time to do this and you have the finances to outsource it, focus on your core skill. I always say focus on the one thing that drives your business that people want from you and you're really good at. Focus on that and outsource anything that you don't like, that you're not good at. And there's other people can do it better than you. Outsource and focus on your key skill. Because I know at the start, I tried to do everything, Caroline, and I was doing nothing. I was spread thin. I was, jack of all, master of none. And I found that once I started, I suppose as the business grew, you could outsource to professionals to, instead of sitting for 3 hours a night movies trying to edit a video, you could send it to somebody who did it for you. And there's software now for all that as well. So, there are people out there who are, fabulous at doing that sort of stuff. You can do that if you're really busy in your salon, if you're really busy in your shop. People can do that for you and people can help you and you can outsource that. But, I think the one thing you can't outsource is your stories and your social media content, because that's truly you. That's your authentic brand, and that's something that has to come from you.
Yeah, definitely. And I didn't have the money to outsource it at the start of the children's wear, and I would have came home at 6, got the kids all sorted, everybody to bed, and then like 3 nights a week I would have done 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock, and one of those nights would have been writing 2 blog posts, and I just had I just kept the head down and kept going until I actually had some finances to did you drop me? Until I had some finances to pay someone. But you know what? Don't freak out if you don't have the money. You just start small and start to learn yourself first.
Totally.
And once you start to see traction, you can maybe start thinking about outsourcing. But
it's showing up and showcasing what your unique skill is and your offering is, and how amazing you are at your job and what you can do for people. I think that's the key thing, how you can help people, because you weren't trained as a video editor or a graphic producer or an SEO or a website builder. If you can get that out to somebody else, and there's lots of grants out there as well, Caroline, to help people. I know that I got quite a few grants to help me with my website, to help me with other bits and pieces, and they are out there. If you go to your local enterprise centre, they'll point you in the right direction. So there are financial grants out there, and even at the minute, with COVID, there's lots of grants as well available for people to do this stuff and to help them. And Invest Northern Ireland's another body that will help you with your marketing also. And I know you were an Invest NI customer, Caroline, as well when you were in Digg. How did you find them to work with?
Yes, really good. They helped me 30% grant towards my website, marketing my website. After that, another 30% grant. So, fantastic. And they've got all the contacts and people that you'll need as well. So definitely reach out to them.
Yeah. Well, look, Caroline, I don't want to keep you any longer. I think we've.
I see there's a question there. Can you see?
Yes, Shara, girls, I'm only starting on Insta and having a clue. Is it better to have separate accounts for business and personal? I've just one at the minute. I do beauty and I'm trying to sell retail at the minute until I reopen. What do you think about that, Caroline? What's your advice on that?
So if you want a separate account for personal, absolutely have it. Your business, like I think we kind of covered that in the chat that we've been having. So your business needs to stay professional, needs to stay, a very product orientated if you're going into your retail side of things, but as I said, use stories maybe to filter in having your morning coffee before you do your online webinar with your client for their skin consultation. I don't know, I'm just coming out with these things as in what a beautician or a hairdresser would be doing. Is it beauty, did she say? So definitely have both. If you're going to be flat out sharing personal stuff and you don't feel it's appropriate for your client base and they wouldn't want to be saying that, definitely have both, but try to keep your content all very focused around what you do in your business. But obviously if you can put snippets in to kind of lighten the mood, or that you're not always trying to sell, but that can be educational content. It doesn't have to be you doing anything mad at home or showing anything personal. So people sometimes get confused by that, but they don't have to show personal stuff, but they can show other things other than saying to their customer, buy me, buy me, buy me, because sometimes that can annoy your customer. If you're giving them value, that's better than anything. So you don't have to have separate ones, but you just need to figure out what your content is for both, I suppose.
Okay, that's good. Look, I think that's the questions so far, unless there's one that I can't see, Caroline. But anything. I've pulled a few of Instagram today that I've asked you that most people have been asking me. And look, I think we've covered everything there. As you say, you could go into content management, content creation. You could do friggin' week seminars on it, But I think we've touched the main points there tonight, Caroline. And hopefully it helps a few people out there who've sort of been dipping their toe into the water and afraid. So, look, thank you.
not easy.
No,
Like, if anybody's listening, this is not easy. Don't be like, you're listening to me and Tara and thinking, I am my head is racked. I'm never going to be able to do that. I understand. And look, so everybody has to start somewhere. You have to start. That's the thing. You can talk and talk and talk about it. Start somewhere, start small, and it will grow. I guarantee you.
Yeah, it really will. But look, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Caroline, for taking time out to help everybody.
Thank you.
You know, create something positive in this times that we're living in. So thanks very much. Thank you. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Thank you. See ya.
I know that sometimes that can be a lot to process, so we have made some show notes for you. If you head over to diggmama.com and go to the Digg Podcast page, you will see all of the information there. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on our podcast. That will mean you'll be kept up to date with all our new guests. And also, if you want to follow all the drama behind the scenes, you can do that on the social media channels, Digg Mama. So yeah, have a happy week, guys, a safe one. Strange times, but I'm just taking it one day at a time, and I will see you all on the next podcast.